The story begins with the gravelly voice of the caretaker recounting the legend of the Ghost Rider, a tormented soul condemned to roam the earth, serving the devil. Long ago, a Ghost Rider was sent to retrieve the contract of San Venganza, a cursed document holding the power of 1,000 evil souls. Aware of its dark influence, the Ghost Rider turned against his master, fleeing with the contract to keep it out of the devil's hands. The scene shifts to a lively carnival, where a daring father-son stunt duo, Barton Blaze and his teenage son Johnny, entertain the crowd with death-defying motorcycle tricks. After the performance, Barton scolds Johnny for his recklessness, warning him not to take unnecessary risks just to impress his girlfriend, Roxanne. That evening, Johnny meets Roxanne under a tree, where she tearfully shares that her father is sending her away. Determined, Johnny suggests they run away together. The two share a tender kiss before parting. Later, Johnny returns home to find his father asleep with a piece of paper in hand. It's a doctor's report, and the news is grim. Barton has terminal cancer. Devastated, Johnny channels his anguish into working on his motorbike, trying to process the news. While in the garage, Johnny is approached by a mysterious man who introduces himself as Mephistopheles. This stranger reveals Barton's illness and makes a chilling proposition. He will cure Barton in exchange for Johnny's soul. Skeptical, Johnny jokingly agrees, cutting his finger in the process. Unbeknownst to Johnny, the drop of blood seals the deal. The next morning, Barton wakes up bursting with energy, claiming to feel better than ever. Johnny is shocked and relieved, but doesn't have time to process the miracle. At the day's show, Barton attempts a dangerous jump through a ring of fire. The stunt goes horribly wrong. Barton crashes mid-jump and dies on impact. Johnny, grief-stricken, watches helplessly as the man who raised him takes his final breath. Mephistopheles appears, sneering and coldly reminding Johnny of their bargain. One day, the devil promises he will come to collect. Crushed by his father's death and bound by his infernal pact, Johnny abandons Roxanne at their meeting spot. Riding away from everything he knows, he leaves his past and her behind. Years pass, and Johnny becomes the world's most famous daredevil, defying death at every turn. In his latest stunt at a packed stadium, Johnny attempts to jump over a line of semi-trucks. Though he clears the trucks, his landing goes awry. His bike slams into a wall, sending him tumbling. Miraculously, Johnny emerges unscathed, to the astonishment of his crew and roaring fans. Mac, Johnny's best friend and mechanic, voices his disbelief, wondering how Johnny continues to survive such brutal crashes. Perhaps it's luck, he suggests, or maybe a guardian angel. Johnny, however, hints at a darker truth. He glances out the window as lightning flashes, revealing a brief reflection of his skull aflame. Elsewhere, in a dusty desert bar, a sinister figure named Blackheart arrives. Blackheart, a demon with unimaginable power, annihilates the bar's patrons with a single touch. His goal is clear: to challenge Mephistopheles and claim the contract of San Venganza for himself. Blackheart is soon joined by three elemental spirits, Gressel, Wallow, and Abigor, who reluctantly agree to aid him. Though wary of Mephistopheles, the spirits are drawn to Blackheart's ambition. Together, they set out to locate the contract, knowing its power could reshape hell itself. Back at Johnny's apartment, Mac tries to talk sense into his friend. He's alarmed by Johnny's increasing recklessness and urges him to reconsider his upcoming stunts. But Johnny brushes off Mac's concerns, admitting he's searching for a sign, a second chance to make sense of his cursed life. Johnny prepares for a new stunt when he's approached by a reporter for an interview. To his shock, the reporter is none other than Roxanne, his old girlfriend. Stunned by her sudden appearance, Johnny is too flustered to answer any of her questions. Frustrated, Roxanne cuts the interview short and leaves just as Johnny begins to ready himself for the jump. Mac joins Johnny on the ramp, relieved to learn Johnny has agreed to remove the cars from his jump. But Johnny surprises him, revealing a new plan. The stadium roof opens and 6 Black Hawk helicopters descend into position. Mac, furious, demands to know why Johnny would attempt something so reckless. Johnny smiles, saying it was his late father's idea. Distracted by thoughts of Roxanne, Johnny mounts his bike and revs the engine. Without further delay, he hurtles down the ramp and executes the stunt flawlessly, landing perfectly. The crowd roars with excitement as Johnny waves before speeding off. Roxanne and her news van head down the freeway when Johnny appears, pulling off stunts to make her stop. Irritated but curious, Roxanne agrees to meet Johnny at her hotel restaurant later that evening. As they talk, a group of motorists, angry about the traffic jam caused by Johnny's antics, approach the van. However, their frustration quickly turns to awe upon realizing they've encountered Johnny Blaze. Meanwhile, Blackheart and his elemental gang confront Mephistopheles. The devil warns them about pursuing the contract of San Venganza, threatening them with the wrath of the Ghost Rider. Unfazed, Blackheart reveals that he is Mephistopheles' son, making his defiance of his father's warnings even more personal and menacing. As Johnny gets ready for his date with Roxanne, he notices his hands glowing red hot. Alarmed, he washes them, but steam rises ominously from his skin. In the alley outside, a brand new motorcycle awaits him, engine roaring. Mephistopheles appears, announcing that it's time for Johnny to fulfill his pact. Mephistopheles reveals that he has been keeping Johnny alive for this moment. He orders Johnny to pursue Blackheart and promises to return Johnny's soul if he succeeds. Compelled, Johnny mounts the fiery bike, which roars to life and tears through the town, leaving a blazing trail of destruction in its wake. Blackheart and his gang arrive at a train yard, where they confront a watchman. Blackheart comments that the area was once a cemetery. The watchman explains the graves were moved by St. Michael's church, but Blackheart kills him without hesitation. Moments later, Johnny arrives, writhing in pain as fire consumes his body. Flames erupt from Johnny's hands and feet, and his skull bursts into fire, completing his transformation into the Ghost Rider. Blackheart confronts him and sends Gressel, one of his elemental spirits, to attack. Ghost Rider grabs chains from the wall as a weapon but is temporarily overpowered when Gressel drives a truck into the building. Emerging unscathed, Ghost Rider lights one of the chains on fire and uses it to ensnare Gressel. The spirit screams as he is turned to stone and crumbles into dust. Ghost Rider whistles for his motorcycle, which transforms into a demonic flaming entity. He mounts it and rides through town, continuing his mission. During his ride, Ghost Rider encounters a young woman being mugged. He grabs the attacker, who stabs him in panic, but the knife melts upon contact with Ghost Rider's fiery body. Ghost Rider forces the mugger to look into his eyes, inflicting a torturous Penance Stare, which forces the mugger to relive his sins. The mugger collapses in terror as Ghost Rider discards him. Exhausted from the night's events, Ghost Rider rides to the outskirts of town. With dawn approaching, his fiery form begins to fade, and he grows weaker, signaling the end of his first night as the Devil's Cursed bounty hunter. Johnny arrives at a cemetery, his body racked with pain as he transforms back into his human form. Exhausted, he collapses at the foot of his father Barton's grave. Meanwhile, Roxanne, angry and hurt after being stood up, reports on the destruction in town caused by the Ghost Rider. During the investigation, police find a license plate linked to one of Johnny Blaze's bikes, putting him on their radar. Johnny, still recovering, is found by the mysterious caretaker. Though initially skeptical of the older man's intentions, Johnny eventually accepts his help. The caretaker explains that the Ghost Rider is the Devil's bounty hunter, tasked with hunting down those who escape hell. He also reveals that the Ghost Rider only appears at night or when evil is present. Johnny recalls using the Penance Stare on the mugger, and the caretaker elaborates on this devastating power. The Penance Stare forces its victims to relive the pain and suffering they've caused, making it the Ghost Rider's most fearsome weapon. The caretaker then recounts the tale of the previous Ghost Rider and the cursed souls of San Venganza, warning Johnny about the dangers of his new role. He also reveals that Blackheart's allies are fallen angels who were cast out of heaven and now hide on Earth. Despite the warnings, Johnny leaves the cemetery to deal with personal matters, ignoring the caretaker's advice to stay on sacred ground for protection. Johnny surveys the destruction caused by the Ghost Rider's actions the night before. He meets Roxanne, but their reunion is anything but pleasant. Furious and confused, she demands answers while Johnny struggles to explain what has happened to him. Later, at his apartment, Johnny researches fire phenomena and begins to test his ability to control his newfound powers. When Roxanne arrives again, seeking the truth, Johnny decides to be honest. He confesses everything: his deal with Mephistopheles, his transformation, and his cursed fate. Roxanne, unable to believe him, dismisses his story as either a fabrication to push her away or proof that he's lost his mind. Heartbroken, Johnny steps outside, only to be arrested by police who suspect him of being involved in the previous night's murders. Thrown into a holding cell, Johnny quickly becomes a target. The other inmates, envious of his fame, attack him out of spite. A younger inmate tries to defend Johnny but is shoved aside. Overwhelmed, Johnny instinctively transforms into the Ghost Rider, unleashing his wrath. In a fiery display, Ghost Rider defeats the attackers and claims the jacket and gloves of their leader, causing spikes to erupt from the metal detailing. Burning through the cell bars, he walks free, pausing only to absolve the young inmate of any guilt before leaving. Elsewhere, Blackheart arrives at St. Michael's Church and interrogates the minister about the contract of San Venganza. When the minister denies any knowledge of it, Blackheart kills him. Learning of the Ghost Rider's reemergence, Blackheart sends Abigor to stop him. Ghost Rider reclaims his motorcycle and escapes police custody, leading them on a high-speed chase. Cornered in a dead-end alley, he tilts his bike upward and rides straight up the side of a building, leaving the officers stunned. Across the street, Roxanne spots the Ghost Rider scaling the building and watches in disbelief. On the rooftop, Ghost Rider confronts Abigor, but a police helicopter intervenes. Using his chains, Ghost Rider flings the helicopter to safety, preventing it from interfering. As Ghost Rider battles Abigor, the Wind Spirit uses his powers to evade capture. Ghost Rider, undeterred, ignites his chain and spins it into a blazing cyclone. The fiery whirlwind pulls Abigor in, obliterating him after a tense struggle. Descending from the rooftop, Ghost Rider faces the police, who open fire when they see him weakening. As his flames dim, he spots Roxanne in the crowd. Ghost Rider conjures a massive wall of fire, using it as cover to escape and retreat back to the safety of the cemetery. The caretaker concludes the tale of the contract of San Venganza, recounting the story of Carter Slade, a former Texas Ranger who became corrupt and struck a deal with Mephistopheles to save his life. When Carter realized the evil stemming from San Venganza, he stole the contract and hid it, possibly burying it with himself. Meanwhile, Roxanne visits Johnny's apartment and meets Mac. Mac mentions Johnny's recent strange behavior, sparking Roxanne's curiosity. As she flips through Johnny's books, she begins to believe his incredible story. Her realization is interrupted by Blackheart's sudden arrival. Blackheart kills Mac and takes Roxanne captive. Johnny returns to find Mac dead and Blackheart holding Roxanne hostage. Furious, Johnny transforms into Ghost Rider and tries to use the Penance Stare on Blackheart, but it fails. Blackheart reveals it doesn't work on him because he has no soul. Blackheart offers to release Roxanne if Johnny brings him the contract of San Venganza by morning. Johnny, determined to save her, returns to the cemetery and vows to find the contract. The caretaker shatters his shovel, revealing the contract hidden inside its handle. Johnny takes the contract, ready for a final showdown with Blackheart. Seeing Johnny's determination, the caretaker relents, believing Johnny's unpredictability might give him an edge. The caretaker whistles, summoning a mysterious horse that bursts into flames. The caretaker reveals his true identity as Carter Slade, the previous Ghost Rider. Together, they ride to San Venganza. Upon arriving, Carter advises Johnny to stay in the shadows and declares this as his final ride. As Johnny enters San Venganza, he is ambushed by Wallow, the last surviving elemental. Wallow drags Johnny underwater, attempting to drown him. Johnny transforms into Ghost Rider, superheating the water and evaporating Wallow in the process. Blackheart appears, holding Roxanne captive. He releases her as Johnny hands over the contract. But before Blackheart can use it, Johnny transforms into Ghost Rider and attacks. Blackheart manages to fight him off and reads the contract, summoning the spirits of San Venganza. The spirits unite with Blackheart, transforming him into Legion, a powerful entity of 1,000 souls. Declaring, "My name is Legion, for we are many." He prepares to destroy Johnny and Roxanne. Roxanne grabs Carter Slade's shotgun and fires, wounding Legion but failing to stop him. Johnny catches the shotgun and infuses it with hellfire, turning it into a fiery weapon. The blast momentarily disintegrates Legion, but he begins to reform, empowered by the 1,000 souls within him. Realizing Legion's vulnerability, Johnny sees an opportunity to strike. Johnny transforms into Ghost Rider one last time and traps Legion using the Penance Stare. Legion screams in agony as the pain of 1,000 souls overwhelms him. The spirits dissipate, and Legion reverts to Blackheart, who dies, unable to withstand the Stare's power. Mephistopheles arrives, congratulating Johnny on his success. He offers to take back the Ghost Rider's powers, freeing Johnny from his curse. But Johnny refuses, vowing to use his powers to fight against evil, including Mephistopheles himself. Angered but unable to reclaim the powers by force, Mephistopheles leaves, vowing revenge. Johnny and Roxanne share a heartfelt goodbye as Johnny resolves to embrace his destiny and roam wherever the road takes him. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to stay updated on new movie recaps.